Good afternoon, fret friends. New project in, nothing spectacular. It is an Epiphone special Les Paul model. Probably, I think it's the cheapest of a range, and I've already started work on this. It's one from church, and worst case scenario I thought would be the frets. It's going to have some high frets anyway, and it is. And I was told it was buzzing up at the top end, and when you're trying to play chords, it's just buzzing everywhere. And there's a reason it's buzzing everywhere. The frets are all over the place. They are quite atrocious. I've already moved the strings out of the way. I've altered the truss rod to get it straight, and we have no less than 14 frets rocking. So it needs a fret level. Now, is it worth a fret level? The guitar's only worth 120 quid. Fret level's going to cost 100 quid normally. Is it worth that? Probably. Well, you mentioned if it's worth it or not. It's what it needs doing. So I'm going to cut the guy a deal. One, because he's from church anyway. Two, because I'm kind like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock a straight edge on the neck on my fingerboard to show here, just to show that the neck is straight. You can't see from here, take my word for it, that neck is straight. I'm going to move the camera and I'm going to go across with a not straight edge, with a fret rocker to show the problem with the frets. Now how we work one of these is, this has 4 edges, all different lengths, and these edges are all laser cut perfectly flat. And the reason we have 4 different lengths is, let's move this truss rod nut adjuster, we only check 3 frets at a time, and I'll explain it here while the guitar stood up. So on these 3 frets we would go with the long edge, and with 3 frets at this end we'll go with the shortest edge. And what that enables us to do is to go across with a fret rocker with the neck straight. The most important thing on a guitar is getting the neck straight. Once the neck's straight, then we get the frets level. If your neck's not straight and your frets aren't level, your guitar will never play right. This is why a neck on a guitar is the most important part of a guitar. If anyone ever asks what the most important part of a guitar is, you now know it is the neck. And if you say otherwise, they're absolutely wrong. Because if your neck's not right, the guitar can never ever play right. So what we must always do first is make sure the neck is, if it is not straight, get it straight by altering the truss rod. If we can't get it straight, altering the truss rod, the neck is no good. Now I'm not saying that can't be repaired, because it can. There's certain ways we could repair a warped neck, but for all intents and purposes, if the neck's not straight and the frets aren't level, the guitar will never play right. So what we have to do now is make sure the neck's straight, which I have done. I'm going to move the camera, show that the neck is straight, and then the next part of the process is we need to level the frets, or make sure the frets are level. Like I say, we'll go across to this, I'll show you exactly how it works, and I will show that our 14 frets need attention. What that means we need to do is we need to skim across all of the frets and get them all level. And once we've skimmed across them, where they have a crown, where a rounded, edge of a fret is rounded, we will flatten some of them, and those we have flattened, we need to recrown. We also need to recrown the ones that we've hardly touched as well, just to make sure they're right. So it is a long process. A fret level takes around 5 hours. It doesn't always have to take 5 hours, but in my experience it takes 5 hours, because you've got to, obviously you've got to strip the guitar, do the fret level, then you've got to tape it all up, you've got to get on the jig, you've got to get frets level, you've got to get recrown, then you've got to build the guitar up again, restring it, set it up, blah 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 blah. We all know how it works. Most of my work is based around frets, so if you want to see what a fret level entails, skip back a video or two and you will see exactly how much work goes into it. So without further ado, I'm going to stop the video for now, just for a few seconds. I'm going to move the camera. I'm going to try my level best to get it in a position where you can see what I'm doing. I won't get in the way and you can hear what you need to hear. So back in a second. Right, fret friends, this is the neck in question. This is a not straight edge, which helps us to determine, it goes over the frets as you can see, and it helps us to determine if the neck is straight or not. Now I still have a tiny little bit of a gap under this part here, so I'm just going to slightly tighten the truss rod just to get rid of that little bit of a gap there. Have I got the right key in there? Doesn't look like I have. No, I don't. Take the right Allen wrench, and a tiny little turn on this should just straighten that neck out. And there you go. There is now no gap under this not straight edge. There was a gap here before, now there isn't. So we have that neck absolutely straight. Just make sure we're not bowing at the ends, which we are not. Right, I've now determined that that neck is absolutely straight. That's great. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take this gubbins and we're going to test 3 frets at a time. This is absolutely milled level, straight, flat. And if we get a rock, we know the middle fret is high. So the edge first, we'll do both the edges, then the middle. So outside edge, fine, fine, middle. Rocking. So that is 1. Fret 2 is rocking. Move on to fret 3. Far edge is rocking, listen. This edge is rocking, so that's 2 frets already rocking. 2 out of 3. 1, 2. Move on to fret 4. Now what I'm going to do is, once we start losing length, you see, listen. That one is high. That's 3 frets already. That just in the middle. Outside edge. That's all of these frets are not level with each other. Outside edge, middle's fine. Inside edge is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 areas already out of 5 frets. Now you're going to see I'm running out of area, look, to do 3, so I'm going to move over to this length. Always doing 3 frets at a time. That's good. That's good. That's good. Good. Middle. Just the middle area. Listen to the rock. So already we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high frets. I'm going to move it up a notch now. Just get a little bit quicker. Good. Bit of a rock there. There you go. That's already 6 frets. 7. Listen to that. These frets are absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst ones I've had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frets out of 9 high. That's high. 10 out of 10 out of 11 is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 out of 10 frets are high. High on the edge, high in the middle. 9, that's 9. So I'm going to crack on a bit now. A little bit high on the edge there. The only way, by the way, to remedy this situation is, that's high, is to skim across all of the frets with a level beam. I don't know that number, I'm going to ignore that. We're just going to have to wait for that to stop. So, the only way to remedy this situation is to go across with a flat beam and skim across all of the frets in one go. I'll get that phone later. I think that's the yellow pages ringing about my advert, so I'll leave that for now. This one's rocking. Just in the middle there. And on the edge. I don't know how many that is now, I've lost count. And we'll go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 frets so far out of 17 of high spots. Oh, really high as well, listen. And there, 13. I say, if there were 5 frets, I could do them with a flat file, just alter those 5. Now, if we file 1 fret, it does alter either 2 round it, and the next 2 along react as well. So, but normally, if we've got less than 5, we can do it with a hand file and finish off. When we get to any more than 5 frets, we have to skim across the whole lot, using the first one and the last one as guides. And we don't remove any material from the first or last, and we file basically everything in between with a flat level beam with sandpaper on it. And once we get them all done, all filed to the first and the last, all the frets become in line with each other. It's the only way to do it. You'll see more of that if you skip back a video or two, or you stay on this video and watch what I do later. But that's it. That's really high there. So there you go. We have, just check the middle. That phone number was a Mansfield number, by the way. If it's important, they will leave a message, and it doesn't sound like they have. Right, anyway, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 frets with problems. I think I said 14 before, didn't I? It shows that I measured these frets absolutely right. Just check again that the neck is straight. We'll put the not straight edge on there. And we do have a straight neck. Can't see my hand under there. We have a straight neck. We have 14 high frets. We have no choice but to level these frets. We level them with, if I can find it anywhere, leveling beam. This has milled flat edges top and bottom. We've got 400 grit on one side, 240 grit on the other. And how we level these is we get it all jigged up, we get the guitar on the jig, and we'll come across all the frets at one time, skimming back and forwards with the sandpaper, perfectly milled flat edge, and we will level them all with the first and the last. Then, once we've flattened them across this way, we need to put that crown back in, which is what we'll do. It's around about a 5-hour job. It's what this guitar needs. I'm going to send this video to the owner of the guitar, let him know the bad news, let him know that there is no option, and we will proceed from there. Right, so the work on this Epiphone neck has been commissioned. Now I'm going to show you something you don't normally see, and I think it's the first time I've actually done it. And I have got a Les Paul neck bolted to this piece of MDF. And the reason we don't normally do that is Les Pauls don't have bolt-on necks unless they are the lower end Epiphones. Now, one good thing about this is the last 3 guitars I've refretted or levelled have been Fenders, so the jig behind me is already set up. As you can see, it's already set up for this piece of MDF with a neck on it, which makes it easier for me to set this up to get the frets levelled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape up the edge of the guitar. I'm not going to tape up between the frets just yet. The reason being, once I've got this on the jig and all set up, braced in, I have to make sure the neck's straight before I tape it up. Then I lock the neck in place so I know it isn't going to move. Then we can level the frets. So the paper between the frets goes on last. The reason we put the masking tape on there is we don't want all the bits of filings to get into the wood. What else have I got to tell you? I removed the knot without any hoo-ha. Just gave it a couple of taps from this end. It managed to come out pretty neatly. It's not broken anything, it's not scratched any paint. Rest of it, well, I would like to say I'm doing a special rate for church. That's no great shakes. The frets I need to work on are still marked up in black marker pen. So it's going to be a pretty straightforward job. Now, I should have been doing this job tomorrow, as I should have been doing 2 other jobs I've done today, tomorrow. And today I was not going to be working, but I've taken my car in for its pre-MOT check. And I found out that my whole back end of my guitar, the whole braking system, calipers, pads, discs, cables, hoses, everything need replacing, as do the front brake pad. So it's a big job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the MOT failure sheet, 9:30 in the morning, drive straight to Long Eaton, and we're going to have my car, we're going to have the back end jacked up, and we're going to replace the whole braking system. It's going to take me all day, because chances are I'm doing it all on my own. I've got the parts all on order, but I am not able to work in this workshop tomorrow. So tomorrow's work, what I had planned for tomorrow, I'm going to do today. So without further ado, I'm going to get this on the neck jig. I'm going to get it ready to level the frets, and I will come back and give you an update shortly. So it really has been a week of firsts for me this week. Earlier this week I had the worst setup guitar I've ever seen in my life, which was a Fender Telecaster, which I ended up doing a fret level recrown, same job as this, doing a fret level, blah 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 blah. And the setup was appalling. And this, I must say, is the worst factory neck, not neck, but frets I've ever come across in my life as well. The 13 frets I marked for levelling that were too high I did measure them absolutely correctly, and to prove that, I have the neck now set up on the jig. I've got the 0 dials both set to 0. You'll be able to see that there. We've got the neck absolutely straight, or as straight as we can get it. Sometimes we don't get them absolutely straight, we'll just get them as straight as we can. We've got no gaps in there. It's beautiful. And the 13 frets I've marked off, I'm going to go across with fret rocker, and some of these at this end are appalling. We are talking 1/3 of a millimetre high. But anyway, I'm going to go across the 13 frets I marked off before. Listen for the knock. 3 edges, 4 lengths, and we'll do 3 frets at a time. And if we get a rock, we know the middle one is rocking or is high. So, there. There, slightly, here. That's a big rock, that is very high. Again, this one. 1, 2, 3. Move on to the next one, we use a different length. There you go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to move the other side of the camera. The camera is right in my way at the moment. It's very awkward for me to do this, but I'm doing this for the benefit of the camera and the owner. I do believe that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 in 2 areas. Very high there. Next one. 10. Next one. 11. Moving across to the ones near the end now. This one is astonishing. I can see the gap there. I'm not going to zoom in, but that is astonishing. The height of this fret in this area. That's 11. This one also very high. 12. It's astonishingly high there again. That has got to be 1/3 of a millimetre easy. 12, and the last one here, 13. So we have 13 high frets. Astonishing. These frets are all over the place. It's no wonder it buzzes when you play it. Just to prove it, the neck is straight. There you go. 13 high frets. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tape the fingerboard so I don't get any filings on there. I'm going to tape it all up, and I'm going to go across, I'm going to level all of these frets. So I now have the neck and the fingerboard all taped up. So I'm not going to go digging into the fingerboard anywhere. I still have the dials zeroed out. It means nothing's moved, nothing will move. This is strapped in, heavily strapped in, it won't move anywhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a method I don't use that often. When I get particularly high frets, really high ones, rather than just go across with a levelling beam, which is going to take me a long time with just sandpaper, I'm actually going to attack it with my flattest file. This also happens to be my sharpest file. It's made by Velour in Switzerland. Also, there's 2 names, not 2 brand names. Can't read the first one. Could be Gladden or Gladden and Velour. Anyway, whatever. So number 4 cut Swiss file, very sharp and very flat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the flat side or the flattest side of the file, and I'm just going to go across and I'm going to basically flatten these high ones. Because you need a lot of material moving. And it moves a lot of material in a little time. And what I shall do is go and get my fret rocker. There's a lot of material removed there, I can see it. And I will check the frets I've just filed. That's still very high. That's getting close, and that's still very high. So we still need to remove a lot of material. So I'm going to crack on with this, still high. And I've moved a lot of material from these 3 frets. Always wipe the file, keep it clean. what I'm going to do is, something I also done a little bit earlier, I can do it now, it's not too late, is I'm going to colour the frets I don't want to touch in a different coloured ink. Black ones being the ones that are high, and I'm going to mark the ones that don't need to lose any material. I'm going to mark them in blue. And once I start hitting the blue, I will know that I removed as much material as I want to remove. So I don't want to be removing that blue. So the 4 frets that don't need touching, I'll mark blue. And that is it. And I'm just going to keep removing the black marked ones, or material from the black marked ones. And this is, I don't normally resort to using this method unless I've got really, really high frets. And we're just getting into the blue, so we should be pretty much level on these really high ones. That one is now level. This one, that's looking good now. A little bit still high in the middle, but good at the edges. And this one. And we're looking level there as well. That's fantastic. So a little bit more work on this one, but we are getting there. Once I get to all these where I don't have to remove as much material, I will do it with a leveling beam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack on and take a little bit more off this one. Hopefully you can see that these frets are really flattening out. This one's almost flat now. So we've got a lot of work to do in the recrowning. I'm going to earn my money on this one. I'm not going to earn my money on this one because I'm not making any. But that is those done. So I'm going to crack on, get the rest done. Once I've got these all pretty close like these are now, I'll mark them all up in pen and we'll go across with the full beam to get them all level. We'll go across with a fine sandpaper, a 400 grit. Just to remove all these scratches I've put in there. And here we are, finally got them level, and that was a lot of work. I've had to remove quite a lot of material from some of them, especially the high ones up this end. I'm just going to brush the neck off because I need to go across with the 400 grit. A couple of tiny areas where we've got a little bit of marking there. I just need to go a tiny bit lower, but I think for all intents and purposes we are level. So I'm going to go across with the black marker when I remember where I've put it. Shooby-dooby-doo, what have we done with it? It's back in the pot. So bear with me while I mark these up. All of these frets are now flat. They should have an arc to them across this way, cross section, a upside down D shape, but now flat, so I need to put that crown back in. I'll do that with various files later on. This is a long job. Fret leveling, recrowning, polishing and setting up a guitar. About 5 hours work this is, when all said and done. And most of the work comes in the polishing to get the frets like glass, all shiny, new and smooth. If you have enough material, enough height left on the frets, it's always a job worth doing because it's considerably cheaper than having a complete refret. I think what I'll do before I do the final sand of that is I will go across with the fret level, fret rocker, and just see where we are, and I've already checked. And we're now level everywhere. I'm actually sweating. I've been going a little bit gung-ho with this because I knew there was a lot of material needed moving. So, but now we have level frets. And I've been across with 240 grit sandpaper on the leveling beam. The leveling beam is ground flat, both edges, which has been milled perfectly level, perfectly flat. But I go across first with 240 grit to remove the main material, then I finish off with 400 grit just to smooth off the frets, and it makes it easy to get the scratches out later. But these are looking fantastic. and that's it. Frets are level. So, already been across with 240, we're going to go across with 400 grit now. Just give it a little brush. Brushing sandpaper, can you believe it? Yes, you can do it. A bit of a fall off area, so I'll push down a little bit more on the right hand when I get to this end. But there we are. And that's it. Frets are all done. Guarantee that those are level. The 0 dials are still at 0, whatever next not moved. Frets are now all level. Next part of the process is to get them all recrowned. I will set up, in fact I might have to do it on this table thinking about it. I might leave it set up on this jig because I can't do it over there. Right, I'll get it set up for recrowning and I'll come back and I'll show you toward the end of the recrowning process how that is done. Good day friends, it's the start of a new week, it's Monday morning and I am going to recrown these frets that I levelled on the Epiphone, and you will see that they are covered in marker pen, and you might also see, the keen-eyed among you may also see that these frets are now flat, where I levelled them across the whole length, where we have that crown of that shape which goes across the whole fret. If you look at the cross section, it's like an upside down D shape. We have now more or less flattened the fret, so we need to get that curve or the crown back in, and how we do that is we have a number of tools we can use to get that back. And a lot of people nowadays tend to use these crowning files that have a groove that matches the arc of a fret. That's a 2.5, well, it's a 2mm one, but I use that for 2 and 2.5, and you just go over the fret like that and it puts that curve back. Now I am pretty old school and I prefer to do it by hand because I've always done it by hand. So I use a 3-cornered file like this with the edges are ground flat, or not ground flat, ground smooth. So when we go in on the guitar, we're not cutting into the wood. Now you will notice that I tape up my spaces between the frets anyway, so we can't mark the wood. And how I work this is, for argument's sake, let's say this piece of bone is a fret, and what we will do is we will start horizontally, and as we file we will arc over and keep arcing over until we start making that round edge, and we'll do both sides, go to the same direction, and we'll angle over and angle over, and you get to feel the fret being worked, and it's the way I've always done it. I do have a very good feel, even though I do say so myself. And I have 2 files for doing this, and I have this one which is pretty coarse. I bought this from Crimson Guitars a few years ago. At the time it seemed expensive at £18, but let me tell you, it's not expensive at all. I use this file the most. It's the most used file in my workshop. It's quite a coarse cut, probably a number 2 cut, maybe even a number 1 cut, I'm not sure. But a bit higher the number, the finer the cut. And then we'll move on to this, which is lightly a number 3 cut, quite fine. Very similar file, except this is equilateral, this one isn't. It does have a flat side for levelling the tops of frets as well, which also works brilliantly. I love this file. This again was about £20. I don't remember if I bought this from Luthier Tech or from Guitars and Woods in Portugal, I'm not sure. But again, another great file. And I use a combination of the 2. I use that to remove the main material, this one to smooth off the burrs, and eventually I use this one just to make sure we've got a nice even arc along the whole fret. So this whole process takes a couple of hours, but that is not the whole story. The polishing takes also a couple of hours. So this in itself is, on a good day, 4-hour job. On a day where you don't have I'm lucky with this one, fortunate, because I can remove a neck like on a Stratocaster, but a lot of Gibson type guitars you can't remove the neck, so you have to take a lot more care
around these areas where the neck is joined to the body, because you don't want to be dinging the guitar body, so we have to basically cover the guitar body and blah blah blah, and we're only allowed to go in at certain more or less horizontal angles when it's on the guitar body, whereas this one we can go at it a little bit more gung-ho. Not that we do go at it gung-ho, I mean far from it, God forbid that, but we have more leeway because I have so much room here where I can angle a file at a much steeper curve than I maybe necessarily need to. So this makes the job really quite easy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you I'm going to do one fret on camera just to give you an idea. Need a bit of pen on one of these, just to give you an idea of how it works, even though I've shown it a zillion times before. What's wrong with showing it a zillion and one times? And I'm going to show you basically how I do a fret, and then I'm going to go on and get the other 20 or 21 done. So I'm just going to move the camera and I'll be back with you in a second. And I am back. Let me just zoom in a little. Just going to do this one. I don't know if you can see that well, but you should see that this is covered in marker pen and the fret is pretty much flat. And what I'm looking to do is I'm going to put the crown back in and I'm going to leave a bead of pen down the centre line, probably round about between 1/4 and 1/3 of a millimetre wide, because we want the contact area where the string touches the fret, busy string, and you want it just touching the top of the fret, you know, with as minimal contact as possible. Not sharp enough where it's going to cut into the string, but enough so we have minimal contact, and that is going to create it's just, we're not going to get any ring or buzz. Now if we have a flat fret like this, you've got the string across quite a wide area. At the moment that is about 2 millimeters wide with flat area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to get the curve back this way, going across there using this file, and I can go, it's a one cut file, but I can go forwards and backwards, and I'm more or less horizontal at the moment, and I'm going to angle the file toward the camera as I come across. And a lot of, even myself, always wipe the file, always, because burrs will cause deep scratches and it makes polishing more difficult later on. A lot of my friends who do this kind of work give it a one stroke affair like that. It makes no difference. But now we are getting that beautiful arc back in the fret, and giving it some of this, it's not going to harm anything. You are more prone to slippage, as you just noticed there. And then I'm going to come this side. And now you're going to see, I'm going to lift the guitar slightly and you'll see I just have a really thin line down the centre. Maybe even better if I turn it that way. And we have now crowned that fret. I will now go with the finer file, just a couple of strokes. Also again leaning in, the other side, and now angle slightly away from the camera. And we have a thin bead of pen down there, and that is no wider than 1/4 of a millimetre. And finally I'll take the 2.5mm side of this, and I'm going to remove the burrs from the edges where the bevels are. So I'm just going to go like so, and I'll go to the far side like so, and then I'm just going to come across and just smooth off that fret all the way, removing any burrs, nice and gentle. I'm not putting any pressure on there. And that is it, that fret is now crowned. I am going to turn the guitar around and try and show you that fret from that angle. And you will now see that that first fret is now beautifully crowned. It's got the nice upside down D shape which we're looking for. If you look at the one next to it, you'll see it's flat on the top. So that's it, I'm going to crack on, get the other 21 done. I myself like to work from the far end, so that is what I am going to do. But I will come back and show you the results later.
So the frets are now recrowned. You may or may not see the thin lines that are left there. I can see them, but not easy to see in this light. So what I need to do now is I'm going to move this over to the polishing bench. I will be going with 5 or 6 different grits of sandpaper. You won't see, but where I've filed across these frets this way, there are scratches that way, and I have to remove all them, because polishing is not just putting a shine on something, it's removing all the scratches and putting a shine on things. These will be like glass once I have done, but it takes a long time. I will go with, like I say, probably going with 6 grits of paper on this. I'll go 800 through to 2,500 grits. So it'll be 800, 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. Once that's done, I will finish off with super fine steel wool. These are really quite dull and all very, very scratched at the moment. So polishing, it's where the time is. 2 hours polishing easily. So I'm going to move this over to the polishing table. I'll get this in my vise, and I will go through the grits. I'll show you a little of that while I'm doing it, but I'll be going through the grits, removing all of these scratches, all of these, any burrs that are left on there. We'll be getting them super smooth, scratch free, like glass. I've been across the fingerboard with the fret rocker. All the frets are level, which is good, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing, leveling frets. But leveling frets is not just a matter of leveling frets. You then have to get the frets back to the shape they need to be with the crown. Then we have to get them all polished up, so I'm going to get on with that right now. Welcome back, guys, and we are at the polishing stage. Well, we're at a very advanced stage of the polishing stage. I've actually polished all the frets using 5 different grits of sandpaper. These are 5 grits I've gone through, blah 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 blah. As you can see, it's all very much used and depleted. I've polished all the frets, and now I just have one polish to do, and that is with the finest grade steel wool. The frets look amazing, they're like glass, and I'll just finish off, go across the top so I get right into the corners, that side, then behind, right into the corners, and then again back across the top. I'm not going to complete this tonight because it is 7 PM, and I promised my wife that at 7 PM I would finish, because we are going out, we're going to take the dog for a walk, and we're going blackberry picking, because we know a spot where there's an absolute abundance of ready to pick blackberries, and we're going to go there, and we're not going to tell anyone else where it is just yet until we've had our fill, and we're going to pick a load of blackberries. So I am going to finish this in the morning. The frets look fantastic. I also have another guitar ready to come on into a vise where I need to polish the frets, but that's another job for another day. Just do this one. Fantastic. This is a great part of the process, because you know once this is done and you peel off the tape, you're going to see an absolutely fantastic fretted guitar. This is going to make all the difference on that guitar, and I know it's a $200 guitar, 120 British pounds guitar, but with the neck being set right and the frets being levelled, it makes it as playable as any good guitar in the world. We all know that, I believe, because it's true, that the neck is the most important part of a guitar, because if the neck's not straight and the frets aren't level, the guitar will never play right. But that's it for today. I'm going to finish this off first thing in the morning, and I'm going to start putting the guitar back together, and I will come back with an update and show you how it's gone. See you soon. So with the frets now polished, we've moved over to the setup table. And I'm going to film a little bit of something that we often, not so much we overlook, but I often don't film. And that is cutting the nut correctly in relation to the setup of the guitar. And what we tend to do is when we're doing a setup, first I will set the neck. I'll get the neck pretty much straight, then I'll tune I'll tune the guitar in so the strings are at tension, and I'll just place a little tiny bit of relief between the 7 and 9 frets, maybe a quarter of a millimetre, maybe a little bit more in some cases, and then from there I will measure the relief at the 12th fret, or the gap between the top of the 12th fret and the bottom of the string, and I tend to go on the low E anything from 1.75 millimetres to 2 millimetres, and on the high E anything from 1.5 millimetres to 1.75 millimetres. I'll also have checked the intonation, make sure it's correct on the bridge, and then we'll come to the nut. And often overlooked by
some guitar techs, is the height of the string above the first fret. Now the thing is, I find that the nut is often cut a little bit too high, and so you've got quite a lot of distance from the bottom of the string to the first fret, and what happens there is it tends to happen up to E, F sharp, G, even G sharp notes. When you finger the note, you're actually a little bit sharper than the true note, and the reason for that is because of the height of the nut, and the strings are too high above the first fret. So what I do is I do a measure, and I measure the gap between the bottom of the string and the top of the fret, and I like to go on the low 3 strings, I like to go between 0.4 and 0.3 millimeters, especially 0.4 on the low E, 0.35 on the A string, and 0.3-ish on the D string. Also again 0.3-ish on the G string, 0.25 or 275 on the B string, and around about 0.25 on the high E string. So we go from a distance in millimeters, top of the fret to bottom of the string, 0.25 on the high E and 0.4 on the low E. And I've just done the low E, and it's just now touching. If I move the string out of the way, I want that gap to be about 0.4. And that's perfect. And on this one again, I'm going to go over 0.4 till I'm close, and I'll drop down just another little bit. So I do have a set of Hosco fret slotting files, and you see here you've got 2 sizes on each one. You've got 17 and 46 on there, you have got 13 and 36 on there, and you have 10 and 26 on there. So each does, this one will do the 1st and 4th strings, the blue one will do the 2nd and 5th strings, and the gold one will do the 3rd and 6th strings. So I'm now moving to the A string, so I want the 36 side. Now I'm just going to lower this down a little. And it's just a matter of, I'm also cutting it slightly at an angle directed towards the slope of the headstock. It will stop us getting a sitar type ring. And I'm just going to go in, and I'm just going to go at an angle each way, nice and gentle. We're not removing major material, we just need to drop it a little just to get it close, and that's enough, and that is enough. We've done that. So again we're going to measure. I'm going to now move to 0.3 on these 2 middle strings, and we have a fair way to go. So take the correct file and just nice and gentle. We're not looking to remove any great depth, just we're going to flare that open a little and just remove a little bit. And I will do, after this I'll get the other 3 strings done. Still a little bit high. And I will drop a tiny little bit of Vaseline or something in there in a moment. Just a smidgen more. Always a little at a time. Better to take too little off than too much. You take too much off, you've got to replace the knot. Done that more than once. There we are, perfect. I'm now going to do the other 3 strings, 0.25, 0.275, 0.3 on that one, and then we will be set up. That will be it. All I need to do then is tune in the guitar, stretch the strings, tune the guitar in, and it will be ready to go. And here we are, all done on the nut. Just needs tuning in, and that's it. We will be done. And here is the guitar all finished.
And you'll notice that I don't scrimp on the amount of work or the level of attention it gets just because it's a cheap guitar. That is not my way. Each guitar is treated the same in this workshop. So what do I think of this? It's a £130 guitar, and for £130 you'd be lucky if you're going to get anything more than half decent, I suppose. With a proper setup like it's had and a fret level, this guitar is more than half decent. It now is played better than it's ever played. You will not get a better setup than it's got right now. But do I think you should have to go and pay for a fret level on a brand new guitar? Absolutely not. If this wasn't from church and I wasn't knocking a lot of money off, right, whoever owned this guitar will be paying me £105 for that fret level and a setup and a set of strings. And do I think this guitar is worth £235? Absolutely not. You can go and get a much better guitar for 200 plus pounds. So that said, this guitar now plays absolutely superb. Just bear with me a second. My wife was just coming back in with the dog, so I just had to stop the video for a second. So what do I think? Do I think this is worth, absolutely not worth 235 quid? But now it is a great guitar. I have given it a complete setup. I've checked the electrics, I've done the intonation, I've altered the pickup height, I've tightened the tuners, I've recut the nut, and I've given the guitar a complete fret level, and I've done it really cheap. And when I'm talking, that's 5 hours work there, and I've done it really cheap. And I don't begrudge doing cheap jobs for church, but I don't want to be getting too many. I'll tell you for why, because when I'm spending 5 hours on this, I'm not spending 5 hours on something else. And if I'm working at £30 an hour, you can understand where I could possibly be losing money. Now that is not the issue. I'm really pleased I've got this guitar done, and it's going to be over the moon, if that means anything. Does it mean anything? What does it actually mean, over the moon? What do you mean, over the moon? Wow, brilliant. Andy will be really pleased when he gets this back, and that's what it is all about. The guitar looks good. But what do I really think? Well, the tuners are garbage. They are jerky in movement. It takes a bit of effort getting them in proper tune because it kind of tries to slip past. So the tuners are rubbish. The bridge seems okay, even though the adjusters are a bit crap. Tailpiece is alright. Pickups are fine. Electrics cheap and fine. The fret job was appalling. It was absolutely, it was disgraceful. In the future, if I was ever buying something like this, or someone wanted me to go with them, I would take a fret rocker with me and I would check the frets in the shop, and I'd say no way, and I'd find one with level frets. Get one of these with level frets, you're alright. Get a player set up on that when you've got it and you'll be absolutely fine. It is a decent sounding guitar. It is a very decent looking guitar, and now it's had the fret level. It's a very decent playing guitar. So really, once you've got all that done, this guitar is now going to last for some years. It's going to bring pleasure to the owner. It will be more or less a pleasure to play. I would, in time, probably look at swapping out the nut and the tuners if you're going to keep the guitar and get serious about playing. The tuners are utter garbage. The nut, plastic. Stick a decent nut on there. Get a bone nut or a tusk, you know, a Gravtech type man-made bone nut on there. You'll be absolutely fine. Pickups are okay, bit close to the strings. I'm going to alter those right now. But that is it. That is this project finished. And I'm going to move on to something else. In fact, I've got a refret to do this afternoon after I've finished the fret polish over there. So I always look forward to refrets, and I'll be refretting a maple neck. So always a little bit of a challenge there because it's lacquered, but kind of challenge I like. So that is going to be fun. So this one that is now finished, I'm going to text Andy, let him know his guitar is ready for collection. So just before I do go, check my website fretfriend.co.uk, and especially check my Facebook page, facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. That's facebook.com/NG17. So project is finished. So as always, until the next time, and I mean this, right? Be good to each other, and I will see you soon.